What AFC sleeper tight end just became more affordable in drafts? Who's the pass catcher to target, if any, for Josh Allen in Buffalo? And what NFC West team's offense just got great news as training camp is only a dump-off pass away? Plus, former Football Guys League champion 2019 Pros vs. Joes drafter Rich Lane drops by to talk about his draft this year, getting ready for his Pros vs. Joes draft, and much more. We've got a great show for you. Dave Gerzak is here. I'm Eric Balkman. Stick around. Your high-stakes fantasy football hour starts now.
Everybody, if you got what it takes, because I'm KRS and I'm on the mic.
Broadcast live and heard around the world, you are now listening to the most entertaining hour of radio on the planet. It's the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com with your hosts Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour is your home for football analysis from the best fantasy players in the world. And now, because no one else was available, here are Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak.
With the master rhymer, that's the lead behind the video rapper. You know the truck driver, tapper.
Hey, thanks a lot, Rob. Greetings and salutations, all of you Balkaholics and Gerzak and addicts. Welcome to the latest episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com. I am, of course, your slightly above average host, Eric Balkman. My co-host is indeed the patron saint of fantasy football. It is the Dizzle, Dave Gerzak. And Dave, I got to tell you, just so you're aware, that thing in front of you is a microphone. You want to project your voice into that. And we're going to do a fantasy football show tonight. This is something you used to do many moons ago, and I just want to give you the official welcome back after several weeks off.
Well, I hope it's like riding a bike, Balky. I'm glad to be back. My voice is recovered. You know,
Are you refreshed?
Yeah, I feel great.
You know, and the thing, we should bring this up, you weren't even – it wasn't even like vacation for you when you were gone. You were actually doing work the last 3 weeks. I mean, a little bit of vacation, but mostly you were doing work.
Yeah, the Fantasy Sports Gaming Association. So stupid. They renamed it from the Fantasy Sports Trade Association to Sports and Gaming.
Right.
So
we were at that trade show.
Yeah, at that trade show with Alex. The same nerd herd as always was there, and it was fine. Didn't really learn a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, typical.
Explored some scenery in Boston. I know you did that. That was fun,
right?
That
was pretty cool. Yeah, it was a good time.
And then out in Vegas with the KFFSC commish, Farrell Elliott, a couple of weeks ago for a different trade show of sorts.
Oh, that was just great to hang out.
Okay, there you go.
The craps table show was outstanding.
I can imagine that everybody there learned a thing or three from Farrell. Coming up on tonight's show, we're going to give you some advice on how we would handle the Melvin Gordon and other Chargers running backs in drafts, the Melvin Gordon situation, what Broncos tight ends to focus on in leagues this year and more. Plus, Rich Lane spills the beans on his 2019 Pros vs. Joe strategy, why he's still on board with Philip Lindsay, and much, much more. Shout out to the chat room right now. Feel free to post any questions you might have in there. If you want to connect with us on Twitter, you can do so at HSFFO or at Eric Balkman, at David Gerzak, Facebook.com/HSFFO, 347-426-3682. That's 347-GAME-OVA. High Stakes Fantasy Football at gmail.com. Producer, mutual friend Rob, audio engineer Bryce, getting those questions, tweets, and emails to us coming up in the second half of the show in fantasy feedback. Dynasty startups forming at myffpc.com, including some tomorrow and Thursday. Best ball, superflex, and double ups, all available at myffpc.com. And, of course, the big one, main event early draft slot announcement is coming on July 29th. That is only 17 days away. And if you have your main event team paid in full by the 22nd, which is 10 days away, you're going to find out where you're drafting in the $500,000 grand prize, the $3.1 million FFPC main event this year. You'll start be able to prep that at the end of July this year. So make sure you get those squared away so you can start your domination in 2019.
$500,000.
$500,000.
That's a lot of money.
It is not cheap.
The cap is 2,400 teams. I probably don't think we're going to sell out. Plus, we
have more than 40 teams signed up right now.
Right. If we had 2,000 or 2,100 teams,
right?
That's 2,100 to 1. So that really is life-changing money. 200,000 is a lot.
Is that what you think you were going to get? 2,100 teams?
If I had to guess, that's kind of where I would guess.
It was 1,800 last year?
Yeah, 1,800 last year.
Right.
So, I mean, we didn't really think we quite hit 2,400, but we actually put a cap that we felt was realistic. But,
Isn't it almost like not just a $500,000 grand prize? It's like another almost $1 million in the prize pool, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it is partially due to league prizes. And,
right.
Leagues. Yeah, so it is a lot. There's a lot more.
Right. Okay. Well, listen, we're going to get into the main event, the Pros vs. Joes, and much more with our guest, who I want to introduce right now, ladies and gentlemen. He has been playing fantasy football for nearly 3 decades, including as an FFPC vet for 6 years now, using data and real money best ball leagues to aid in his research. He made the playoffs in 9 of his 10 leagues last year. He won 2. He was the runner-up in 4. Please welcome an FFPC player defending the Joes honor this year, coming off a couple of wins in the Football Guys Players Championship in his leagues, and he's going to defend the honor in the FFPC Pros vs. Joes Challenge. It's Rich Lane. Rich, welcome to the show, buddy.
Good evening, Eric and Dave. How are you doing?
We're doing well.
Great.
We're excited. You are now. You, I think, are drafting. If I'm remembering correctly, you are in the first Pros vs. Joes draft, which is just 9 days away. So you're already in. I know you're not in the thick of your prep right now, but I think yeah,
I'm sure he's writing a novel.
I think there's certain things that are starting to ruminate in your mind. The information is marinating, and you're getting ready to show off your chops in 9 days, right?
Yes, I hope so. Unfortunately, I'm the first draft, so I won't be learning anything from the others. But preparation is going to happen this weekend for sure, and I've already taken part in one best ball just to learn a little of what's going on this year.
No, that's perfect. That's awesome. And listen, you're going to set the standard. You're going to set the ADP this year since you're in the first draft. So we'll all be looking to you and your 11 cohorts. Before we get into fantasy football, Rich, can you let us know what you're doing for a living when you're not winning all these FFPC leagues?
Well, my primary role is in data management, so I always say that's a similar type of thing, figuring out what data is important, where's the best source to get the data, and how to best use it. So I guess I'm doing the same during the day as I am when I sit down and play fantasy football.
And once again, Dave, somebody exploiting their day job for personal gain and trying to win all this cash in fantasy football, and that's been working out. Well, it worked out for you last year, Rich. 9 out of 10 leagues, you make the playoffs, you win 2 of them, runner-up in 4. That is a pretty good ratio. So certainly your day job is paying dividends. Wouldn't you agree, Dave?
I would agree that his day job is paying dividends.
There you go.
Maybe he hijacks a supercomputer at night to run little run little simulations.
We don't need to get into that, but yes.
Rich, are you stealing time at work? Well, I'm sure everyone steals time at work for fantasy, so let's not even ask that question. Rich, I will ask you this. So you've completed 1 draft this summer in preparation for Pros vs. Joes. So when you generally approach the 28-round drafts, how concerned are you with roster construction? Are you looking more for the best player available? Do you do I'm going to ask you this. It's kind of a multi-part question. Do you take 3 quarterbacks, 3 defenses, 3 kickers, 3 tight ends, or 4 tight ends, or some sort of? Do you have a cardinal rule for those types of things?
So I wasn't successful at best ball, and then I started looking at the teams that were, and I realized that they were constructing their rosters differently to me. So yes, that's become a much more focused area for me, and I would say a different strategy to the tournaments they play in. So I am looking to get 3 solid tight ends if I can, 8 wide receivers, 7 running backs, and 3 or 4 tight ends. Certainly at least two defenses and at least 2 kickers in there as well. But I think the main thing, is to start off with solid players that you know are going to consistently produce every week, and especially at the top, the tight end and running back positions. That's how I start off putting together a best ball team now.
Certainly the meat and the potatoes of the draft, getting those backs, receivers, and to a certain extent the tight ends as well, and making sure the bye weeks line up. No question that goes into it. Let's get into a couple of the players that you had selected in your first FFPC best ball earlier this season. I think that there's, especially if you go on Twitter or talk to any high-stakes players, there's a lot of FFPC players that are down on Phillip Lindsay this year, given that they don't expect an undrafted rookie to do what he did in 2018 again this season, and, of course, coming off that serious wrist injury. Why did you get on board with him at the 406 of this best ball, Rich?
Well, I should also preface it by saying that when I drafted this best ball, my main aim was to learn from the draft. So there were players who were available at certain times in the draft, especially my sleepers for the year, who I didn't take intentionally, so I could figure out where were they going to go in the draft. So it certainly was more preparing for the Pros v. Joes drafts and the other drafts than it was putting together my strongest lineup. But having said that, I also didn't want to throw away money. So I was taking a player who I thought would be a good asset to the team. And Philip Lindsay was still there at the 20th running back position off the board. So although you can say that Joe Flacco is going to be a downgrade for him at quarterback, and he's coming off the wrist injury. The wrist injury for me is less troublesome than a lower leg injury would be. And I still think off the 20th running back off the board, I think he's got good value and he'll be a solid performer there because he's able to catch the ball and run. And even though he was a surprise last year, that was his rookie year. So I'm presuming he's going to be better this year as a player. It's just what's the supporting cast around him going to look like. And the other aspect that comes into it for me is who's his backup or who's the other alternative in the backfield. And I'm not a big fan of Royce Freeman. So I think he's the talent in the backfield, and I think he'll be getting most of the ball.
Philip Lindsay currently going as RB24 at the 411 and FFPC best ball drafts, going right after Kenyon Drake, Sony Michel, David Montgomery, going right before Mark Ingram, James White, and Tariq Cohen. And conversely, Royce Freeman is actually not going until the 802, so he's still quite a ways down there. So as much as I say that there's FFPC players, Dave, high-stakes players, that are down on Lindsay, there's certainly many more of them that are drafting him in the 4th round and still letting Royce Freeman slip to the 8th round.
Yes, we've just had this discussion before. It's interesting because it is a wrist injury, but it is, like they say, a serious wrist injury, and he's still not really he's not practicing really. Has he been held out?
Not yet, no.
But I mean, like, I'm sure he's able to. Well, I don't know if he can do squats or not, but I'm sure he can do leg presses and all those things. And he can run and do sprints and all those things. And I'm sure he's in really good shape.
Yeah.
I'm kind of back and forth on Lindsay. I could see him being really successful. I could see him struggling to succeed. Just if the coaching staff wants to really get Freeman the ball, more of a timeshare situation, I guess we'll have to see what they haven't really been saying too much about it. I mean, other than giving Freeman an opportunity, I think. No,
and I think at this point there's no reason for them to rush him here in July. I mean, we'll see what happens in training camp. The reports I'm hearing is that he is not going to be ready for the start of training camp, which I guess is kind of a red flag. But all the lip service that's been paid has been, look, we're treating him there's no reason for us to rush him. There's no reason for him to get out there right now. So I think that, they're just being extra cautious with it. And the other thing to keep in mind with Lindsay, too, you're getting a Pro Bowl running back at the end of the 4th round. The regression is sort of baked in a little bit at that point, unless he really falls off or if Royce Freeman really takes over.
That's very true.
Go ahead, Dave.
And that comes back a little bit to the...
Yeah, go ahead, Rich.
Yeah, I think it comes back a little bit to the roster construction as well. But that spot I was looking for a second running back, and I wanted one that was going to be the starter and a solid running back. And I was hoping to get 3 strong running backs early. So that was my second guy off the board. In the next round, I took my 3rd running back in Sony Michel, and at that point, I figured I had 3 running backs who could start hopefully most games. And if Lindsay is on the sideline for a couple of games, then I've got the 2 other guys to play.
So let me ask you this real quick, Rich. I mean, maybe you mentioned it and I just missed it, but did you have Lindsay at all last year? Did you pick him up off waivers and got the enjoyment of having Philip Lindsay on your team?
I didn't have him anywhere last year. Yeah, I didn't take him anywhere last year. He was the bids for him were higher than the bid I made, and I then watched him continue to play as well as he started, and it was interesting to watch an undrafted rookie play as well as he did, and that was, I wasn't convinced enough to put up the big bucks that people did in the blind draft to pick him.
It's interesting just because I feel like a lot of time I would have hazarded to guess that you would have owned him because you're like, oh, I had Lindsay, it was great. But actually, maybe you just had Lindsay envy that you didn't know.
That's the FOMO. Fear of missing out.
Now you got him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There you go. That is, people, fear things more than, well, whatever. We'll need to get into psychology.
Yeah, I was just going to say, let's get into the psychological aspect.
Let's not get into psychology. Rich is not a psychologist or psychiatrist. Neither.
This is a heavy data-driven show tonight with Rich, with Rich Lane on.
Rich, are you going to be hypnotized over the phone lines here? Can we hypnotize you? All right, maybe not.
You could try. But...
We are not trying that.
We're hypnotizing our listeners with boredom. But, anyway, Rich, so let's ask you about the Cleveland Browns. I mean, usually we ask questions about teams that really suck, and the Browns were always one of them. But finally, they have a lot of good players. So they have Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry. They have a great ground game with Nick Chubb. You drafted David Njoku as tight end number 9. So, he's competing with these guys for whether it's targets or the ball, more or less. But it is his third year, and he was super young coming out. What do you think about Njoku going forward this year?
Yeah, I think Cleveland is the story of this year. They're going to be much better. It's going to be a really interesting season to see how far they go and how well they perform, especially with all the additions they have. But ultimately, when I was looking at that slot, and Njoku is he had a good, as you say, he's a third-year tight end, and tight ends take a bit longer to progress. So I'm looking at him as a third-year tight end, along with obviously there's Kittle, who's a special case, but there's O.J. Howard and there's Ingram and there's him as third-year running back, as a third-year tight ends. And I just think he's going to step up this year, improve some more. He's going to get more opportunities down in the red zone because they're going to be down there more often. And with Chubb breaking off big runs and with the wide receivers breaking off big catches, they're going to get down in the red zone, and I think he's going to have more opportunities. So last year he had 4 touchdowns. I'm looking at him being somewhere between 6 and 8 touchdowns, 60 to 65 catches, and 700 yards, and that's I think that's a low floor for him, and that would put him in the tight end comfortably in the tight end 6 to 8 range. And comparing him to O.J. Howard and Ingram, the 2 other third-year tight ends who are picked in a similar type of range. O.J. Howard went two rounds earlier, and he's now got Arians coaching, and Arians has never been a fan of tight ends or never featured his tight ends in the game. So that was one factor, just comparing the 3 players. And then Evan Ingram, he's lost Odell Beckham, so he's going to have more responsibility to move the ball down the field. But I'm not convinced that he's going to be progressing greatly on his stats for this year.
I'm a little down on O.J. Howard as well, simply for that Arians point that you brought to the table here, Rich. I know Lance Turbis at Sport Betting Man on Twitter has brought that up before, too. In fact, I think he tweeted out, this was probably a couple weeks ago now, but the targets for the starting tight end in the Bruce Arians offenses, and let's just say they were less than thrilling, very underwhelming. And I wonder if that continues this year. With Mike Evans and Chris Godwin expected to soak up a lot of targets there. We shall see. I feel like I might miss the boat on O.J. Howard, and I'm kind of okay with that. What's funny is I actually own O.J. Howard in a couple of dynasty leagues, and I haven't been able to trade him. So I guess I will enjoy a breakout season indirectly if he has one this year. But I'm not holding my breath. Rich,
you should taunt people then.
What? When Howard blows up?
Yeah, I think you need to taunt. Rich, do you believe in taunting people when they won't trade with you in a league, and then your player blows up? Are you classless like we are?
Well, I like teasing people for sure. Yeah, I like, and you've got to enjoy the game.
He does it in a classy way.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, classy
with
people,
an English accent as well.
Classy people. Yeah, classy people tease, Dave. Like classless people like us, we taunt.
That's nice. I like that.
Yeah, that's
I'm gonna start teasing more.
3-time Football Guys Players Championship League winner and 2019 Pros vs. Joe's drafter Rich Lane joining us here on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour tonight. Dave, oftentimes on this show we get into a lot of analysis on the early round picks, but sometimes people expect us to go a little bit deeper on this show. So we're going to do that with Rich, and I believe you have a question about some late round receivers here that he actually selected in one of his drafts already.
All right, so here we are. We're talking, this is a 23rd and 24th round, just pretty late. Some people have put it on auto draft, other people are passed out, depending on what they were doing.
Other people are winning the league.
And you are winning the league, and you threw a couple of darts at John Ross and Josh Doxson. So can you talk to us a little bit about why those guys might actually end up starting for you at certain points, possibly during the season?
Yeah, well, down there I'm looking for, obviously this is best ball, so you're looking for a couple of guys who will pop up for a couple of weeks and have really big games. And so that was the profile I was looking for down there. And in the same sort of range, somebody like Ted Ginn who can do the same thing, he was going as well. But I was looking at John Ross. He's got speed and he's often injured, but when he's not and when he has that big game, he gets a good number of points on the board. And then then Dotson, he's a case where he was the leading receiver for Washington last year, and I think they're going to have a stronger quarterback this year because they had so many problems there last year. So, in theory, he could have more catches, and he had a couple of good games last year where he put up some good statistics and would be a useful asset in a best ball team. So, he I thought was actually I think he's more valuable of the two, and part of that as well goes back to who else is he competing for catches with, and I think Richardson is often talked about as being a up and coming youngster, but I haven't seen it on the field yet. So I still think Dotson's going to see a lot of targets, and he's going to have chances to put up one or two big games. And frankly, in the 23rd, 24th round, that's what I was looking for from a couple of wide receivers. So going back to the strategy as to how many players you're looking to pick at each position, they were my 7th and 8th wide receivers, and that's the goal at that point, is to get a couple of guys who can throw in a couple of big weeks, and hopefully it's on a bye week for one of the other guys, and it works out.
Yeah, and I think the Washington offense is one that we don't necessarily talk about on this show because it's not very exciting. But if you read between the lines a little bit, you're going to have probably an inexperienced rookie in there. I would assume Washington is going to be down, and we've seen a lot of these NFC East shootouts in the past. So when you consider the draft capital that you're investing in guys like Jordan Reed, Josh Doxson, or whomever in Washington. Trey Quinn.
The secret hyper guy that people hype up.
Yeah, well, I mean, but
Trey Quinn.
Right. I mean, well, okay, so to that end, Trey Quinn is going late. Jordan Reed is going late for tight end. Josh Doxson's going late. Maybe there's something there if Haskins has to sling the rock late. I mean, and that's something that I think we haven't talked about a lot on this show because it's not, number one, it's not exciting. It's the Redskins, so we really don't care about their offense that much. We're going to get in. I think we have some news on Darius Geis coming up later on in the show, right. But it plays to this. Look, the passing game is going to be very important with Jay Gruden, again, a guy who loves to pass the ball.
Well, you know what I heard when I first heard about this Trey Quinn guy, I'm like, all right, he's the slot receiver for Washington. He's supposed to be awesome. I'm like, Trey Quinn, and they don't even call him they don't even have a last name for him. They just call him by his first name.
Trey Quinn?
Yeah, I'm like, wait a minute. And I Googled him. He's a white guy. I'm like, His name isn't Trey Quinn something.
Yes.
It's Trey Quinn, a white slot receiver. So I just didn't know.
Do you know what college he went to, Dave?
No, Colorado State.
He went to SMU.
Oh, SMU. At
the same time that the Broncos' alleged number one receiver was playing on the opposite side of him. Yeah, it was Sutton and Quinn.
Have you ever looked at the stats betwixt the two? Sutton
had some pretty good numbers, but Quinn caught a lot of passes there too.
Sure.
So, and I think again, he's free right now when we talk about Redskins receivers. Trey Quinn, FFPC players not drafting him until the middle of the 22nd round. This is Ted Ginn, A.J. Brown, Randall Cobb, David Moore territory. So there's certainly a lot of upside in drafting him there. All right, let's get into this Pros versus Joes analysis here. 9 days away from Pros versus Joes. No Pain, League number 1. Broadcast right here on July 21st. Now, this is interesting because this is a guy who's been in the news within the last roughly 36, 48 hours. But if the guy you took at 107 in your best ball is available, that would be Melvin Gordon. Are you taking him again at 8 here, or has this news of a potential holdout scared you off him where you wouldn't draft him in the first round anymore?
Yeah, as I said, I'm looking for somebody who's going to be a solid, reliable performer, especially in the first round. Ideally, I'm going to target a running back there because I think there's more opportunity to get solid wide receivers and, as I say, pick up some surprise weeks from wide receivers lower down. So Melvin Gordon doesn't fall into that category now if he's going to hold out. So certainly I'm not going to be taking him. Would I be targeting Eckler? Yeah, I'd be targeting Eckler later in the game because he may have extra value, and he may, if there's a holdout for a few weeks, he's going to be the starting guy, and he still catches the ball, so he still has value even when he's the backup again.
Yeah, good stuff there, and I think that is something that we overlook. Yeah, while we might be dropping Melvin Gordon on our boards, conversely, we have to be upping Austin Eckler and Justin Jackson too. And Jackson actually is a guy I've commissioned a couple of drafts over the last few days. He is rising in Football Guys leagues. In FFPC best ball, this isn't going to be totally accurate because this is, by the way, FantasyMojo.com is where I get this ADP data for FFPC best ball leagues. But
what a good subscription. $9.95, it's super cheap. You should definitely subscribe.
Absolutely. Now, over the last 7 days, Justin Jackson is going in the mid-20th. However, he has gone as high as the mid-13th, which I think is more realistic now until we get some more clarity on this Melvin Gordon situation. I think that's what you're looking at for Justin Jackson. Dave, this next question that you're going to ask Rich here, I feel like we've had fatigue on these two players because we've talked about.
I thought you were going to say this type of question.
No. Well, same thing, yeah. This is like we've had some Gurley Hill fatigue, but I think I love the fact that
I think it's getting interesting again.
Right, and just the fact that we can probe so many great high stakes players on this show, I think we have to take full advantage. So go ahead and ask Rich.
All right, here it is, Rich. Very big, important questions. Two polarizing players right now in fantasy are Todd Gurley, and who looks like he could, not to tout my own horn, but I mean, I kind of said that there was not a whole ton of evidence on Tyreek Hill that there's a chance he might
totally regretting not accepting that.
Be kind of innocent, and what could be innocent, Tyreek Hill, not 100% innocent, but not the devil that they made him out to be. Anyway, so would you draft either of them where they are going right now? And the question is, where are they going right now, right? So let's get some. I've seen Gurley going in the early second to like 19th or 20th.
Dave, I would say this: still on average mid-second, but he has re-entered the first round.
Crept up a little bit sometimes. Okay.
He's going. I've seen him go at the end of the first round. 110 over the last 7 days is the highest he's gone. Yeah. Tyreek Hill is another guy who's crept up. Now
not that much though. Right?
Well, no, because he was slipping 5th, 6th round before. Now he's going in the mid-4th. He's gone as high as the 302 in the last week in FFPC.
Well, I have an opinion on that, but let's hear from Rich.
Yeah, go ahead, Rich. Talk a little bit about your thoughts on Gurley and Hill and their current ADPs.
So Hill, I think he's a fantastic player, and he's helped win me some of those tournaments that I've won recently by getting him at value at the start of the third round in a couple of leagues last year, for example. So Hill I'm high on, but in best ball I'm not going to take that risk. If you're without a player who you drafted in the second, third round for several games, that's going to hurt, and I'm not going to take him in best ball. In a tournament game, then I'm looking to win in the playoffs, and I'm looking to win the tournament. So if he's going to be back for that, then I'm more likely to roll the dice if I'm going to get value. And I'll say get value in the fourth round is where I'd see beginning to get value with somebody like Hill. So that is, again, strategy difference between best ball and tournament play. Gurley, again, is regardless of whether he comes back healthy, I think they're going to limit the workload for him, and he's always carrying the risk of injuring those knees again and then back on the sideline. So you can't ignore the talent, so you have to think about taking him in late second round. Before that, it's for me it'd be too expensive to take him in the first round or early second round. So if he drops in the second round, as I've seen he has done in one or two drafts, then I'd certainly be interested in him there. More in tournament play rather than best ball, but I'd be more interested in Gurley than I would Hill.
Yeah, and a couple of things there. Number one is I think you're right. We can look at, wasn't Gurley just interviewed on NFL Network, Dave? I think the prognosticator is actually talking about this, that the body language that the analyst said that Gurley was exhibiting, they think nothing's wrong with his knee, nothing significant's wrong with his knee.
Was he walking around?
I don't know, but I didn't see the interview. But that is the case. Like, we can hear all this positive stuff in the preseason, and then all of a sudden he just tweaks it in the game, and boom, now he's out a month and a half. Or maybe the Rams are in the thick of it, and they start crushing it in that division. Now there's no sense in bringing Gurley back in December if you want to save him for the playoffs, and then it's the Darrell Henderson show. So I think there's something to be said for that. Like, we can hear all this positive stuff, but all it takes is one tweak, and he could miss multiple games. So I think that's interesting. And also what's interesting is now that Gurley's rising up, now that Tyreek Hill's rising up, what about these people that drafted early, that cashed in on that? Because they might have formed some pretty good teams right now.
That's true.
Or people who are just getting on that riding that wave now of these guys getting moving up on the ADP. You can still get some good value on them, given that Gurley's still going at the end of the second, given that Tyreek Hill's still going in the fourth. There's still some value there.
Yeah.
And I'll be looking very forward to seeing how these guys go in pros versus Joes as well, no question. Rich, did you have something to add?
Yeah, and I think another interesting point there is, again, talking about sort of the Cleveland situation with people rising up the board and what's happening with other players and what's happening with backups. The Tyreek Hill situation is interesting in that Patrick Mahomes is going extremely high for me in drafts at the moment. And he's a fantastic quarterback. I have no doubt he'll be the top quarterback. But without Hill, what does that do to his value? And he's going in the third round. That seems like a very rich price to pay for somebody who may be without their top receiver.
Go ahead, Dave.
I mean, I think Tyreek Hill is an absolute insane steal at the point of where he's going right now.
Yeah.
I think he should be drafted. If he was not getting suspended at all, right?
I feel like you were saying this exact thing 2 years ago.
Probably.
Because you were all in on him then and you were saying it's a steal for a different reason.
Yeah, because he's going in the ninth round, and
right.
all the pundits thought, oh, this guy, he was a fluke, he's a fluke. Oh, he's not that good. And everywhere we could, we traded for him in dynasty leagues. We drafted him and redrafted him, did really well. I feel like you're getting another shot at the I don't know, the cup of God or whatever you call it. In that this guy would be a top 10 pick overall, right? If he was not suspended, had no issues whatsoever. He's likely to get suspended a max of 4 games and possibly only 2, and there's a slim chance at 0 or whatever. But let's just say it's 4 games. It's in almost any format, that's still a pretty big discount. I mean, it's nice. When you're talking about a top wide receiver, I think he should be going around the 212, 301 spot is where I think his actual true, should be drafted spot is. And I would remind, back when we won that one other contest in 2008, part of the reason we did well is we drafted Steve Smith when he had a 2-game suspension and Brandon Marshall when he had a 1-game suspension or vice versa, whatever it was. And we got value on those 2 players because they were falling too far. I just feel like, especially like you said, Rich, in national tournaments, you cannot sleep on Tyreek Hill. You got to take him. If you get him anywhere after the 301, you're minting money. You're doing well.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no question, and I think the longer we go with no news on this, Dave, and this goes for Gurley to a certain extent as well, but more so for Hill, the longer we go with no news, the higher Tyreek Hill, the higher Todd Gurley rise in ADP. We will keep our eyes on that. Pros versus Joes is going to be a great barometer or thermometer for that we cover those.
I'm going to tease you because you don't know I was in a draft just before this show, and I got him with the 5th pick of the 4th round.
There you go. Beautiful.
Now,
16th overall wide receiver. That's tremendous value there. And again, it's a tournament. It's a tournament game, so I got cover for the 3rd wide receiver. But I'm happy to have him there. If he gets suspended 8 games, I'm just looking to get in the playoffs and have him for the playoffs and hopefully the championship.
Yeah, exactly.
I think there's no shot. I mean, I really think there's no shot of 8 games.
Yeah.
I mean,
and then what I didn't understand, did you see that they re-released this audio of the full version of it?
Where it wasn't.
Why wasn't that why wasn't the full version released immediately? I don't understand why the not the but the edited version, the Cliff Notes version.
Just in case don't know this, Balky, sometimes there's fake news out there.
No,
I don't want to get into
this. All right, let's move on. I want to
quickly.
Listen, Rich. You've been very gracious. I do want to squeeze in one email here from a listener, Mike in Texas City. You guessed it, Texas. Writes, "What's up, Rich? With Gronk no longer catching balls for Brady for now, who is the guy you want there? Edelman, Harry, Gordon, Watson, or someone else?" Thanks for the email, Mike in Texas City, Texas. Do you have any feelings on the goal? I mean, is it Edelman, or do you like the draft value of somebody like Ben Watson or N'Keal Harry or even Josh Gordon a little bit better in New England, Rich?
I've been a huge Edelman fan for years, and I've always liked the volume that he catches, and he's helped me win championships. He's one of the most frequently drafted players I've had over the last 2 or 3 years, even though I've been hurt by injuries. And again, last year he was suspended at the start of the year, but I got him at a very good spot where I got value, and he helped me. So Edelman is the guy I'd be looking at. Obviously, I think I think the running backs also benefit from that. And Josh Gordon, he's a guy who he's one of the guys who I can never draft. 2 years ago, I took him in the last round as a flyer, thinking he would never play. But I got him in the last round. So then last year, when he was going in the 5th or 6th round, I was shocked by that he hadn't changed as a person, presumably. But he was going an outrageous spot, in my opinion. And again, if he stays on the field, he's a fantastic talent, and maybe Brady can keep him on the field, and maybe the league will let him back in, because I don't know if he's been cleared to play yet. And you can let me know. But he isn't somebody who I'd be drafting, Josh Gordon.
All right, here's a bonus question for you. Speaking of Brady and Patriots and so forth, so 25th round, you've gotten kind of screwed over on the tight ends and the pros versus Joes.
Here we go.
Rob Gronkowski's sitting out there for you. Are you taking him in the late 25th round?
He's that's a case where it's risk reward, and even if he doesn't play in a best ball, you can hold on to him, and you're probably not getting many points from that slot. But if he starts to think towards the end of the season, I can help Brady and I can help the Patriots, and I'm getting lonely on my couch, he may come back. So a late round flyer. That's what I did 2 years ago with Gordon. It's a late round flyer. This pick probably isn't going to score any points. So if I get the real Gordon come back, or if I get the real Gronk come back, it's worth the risk.
All right, that's an affirmative. I agree with you as well. I think that's a good pick. All right, so here's the final question, and this is for Balky and me, so we can draft well in our Kentucky draft.
Correct.
Can you give us a player you'll be staying away from in the early rounds this season, as well as a sleeper that you'll be looking to acquire in the mid to later rounds?
So I probably have one of these at each position as regards guys I'm staying away from. I've already mentioned Mahomes. The price is too high there for me. Fournette would be the running back last year as well. He's got an injury history. He's one-dimensional in my opinion. I just can't pick him in one of the early rounds. I'm looking for a running back who can catch the ball as well in those early rounds. For wide receiver, it'd be A.J. Green. I think he was one of my favorite players. Unfortunately, time is catching up with him, and he's struggling to stay on the field. And then the tight end is Ebron. I was never a big fan. He had a fantastic year, but he had 14 touchdowns last year, and that must be a freak result. That there's no way he's repeating that this year. So, and Jack Doyle's healthier as well. So, Ebron, in my opinion, he's going a little bit too high for my strategy out there. So, he's one I'd be leaving there as well. As regards to sleeper, I'm going to go to Pittsburgh. I'm going to say James Washington. Big Ben's going to be throwing the ball somewhere else without Antonio Brown there now, and I always think Big Ben's undervalued. I have a lot of respect for his talent, and there's a lot of targets and catches to be distributed in other places. And James Washington certainly showed flashes at times that he could get open and he could make plays. So I'm going to be interested to see how well he does this year. And he's the sleeper that I'll mention ahead of the pros and Joes, and I'll keep the others couple of sleepers up my sleeve for next Sunday.
All right. Hey, so who was the quarterback again, Rich? I missed it. I'm sorry. The bust quarterback.
Oh, I'm not saying he's going to bust, but I think he'll still be the number one quarterback. I just think he's too high. Patrick Mahomes.
Sorry, I got you. Yeah, I thought he was going to bust, but just overvalued. I hear you. No, absolutely.
Yeah, because you take a quarterback in the third round, it means that you're taking your running back 2, your wide receiver 2, your top tight end. You're taking all of those a round lower. So it's not just that you're taking him, earlier. All of those other picks slip down a round. So to me, for him to go in the third round, and especially say Hill is out for a couple of games, that's very rich value to be taking him there.
Well, one guy we know will not be busting out, especially in Pros versus Joes, in a bad way, is Rich Lane. Rich, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Congrats on the Football Guys Championships last year. Good luck in all your leagues this year, especially in Pros versus Joes. We'll watch you draft live on this program coming up 9 days from now. I know you want to get started on your prep work. You already have been.
And make sure to call in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And,
don't be like the rest of those people who we're gonna talk crap about them. We're gonna say they suck. So if you call in, we're like, yeah, Rich, we love you. We've been on the show.
You'll be our favorite to win the league.
And then also you'll talk up your team and all that. Trust me, it's well worth it.
Listen, it's show business. That's what we do. We feature our guests and
sort of.
And we did a good job of that tonight. Rich, thanks again for hanging out with us. Really appreciate it, and we'll talk to you again soon, dude.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Eric and Dave. Have a great night.
You as well, my friend. Rich Lane, ladies and gentlemen, 3-time Football Guys Players Championship League winner, 2019 Pros vs. Joes drafter. Check him out in the No Pain League #1 on July 21st, right on these airwaves.
So he's obviously of some English descent or British descent, and you call him dude.
Yeah, whatever. Call everybody dude.
He's not a cowboy.
Call Asians dudes, Africans
he
dudes.
People, he's a very nice gentleman, and you're calling him dude.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. They knight people in England.
Dave, I don't know if you know this, but dude is a form of it's a compliment here in the United States.
Yeah. You ever been to a dude ranch?
No, I actually haven't.
Oh.
I used to watch Hey Dude on Nickelodeon.
You know, if I opened a gay bar in San Francisco, I think I'd call it the Dude Ranch. That's a cool name, isn't it?
There's got to be a gay bar already called the Dude Ranch, and there might be one in San Francisco. Let's
That's a cool name for a gay bar.
Let's get.
Anyone who wants to take the idea, you go ahead and run with it, because I won't.
I'm gonna look at this up right now. Yeah.
Good luck enjoying all. I can't wait for you to get retarded by all the gay bars.
There's
Hey, Eric.
Actually, there's a bar called the Dude Ranch in Spanaway, Washington. Yeah. I don't know if it's a gay bar or not.
Yeah.
There is a Montana gay ranch adventure that you can go on. There's information on that, keytravel.com.
Oh, that sounds
so
like
check
fun.
that out. And
for gay people, that might actually be fun.
Yeah, and then there's a post on newnow.next.com, travel expert, quote, where can we find a dude ranch that's gay friendly? I didn't realize there's a market for that, but apparently there is.
Remember, what was that movie, the cowboy movie where the
Brokeback Mountain?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that people maybe want to replicate it.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. That's not something you want to replicate.
No, is this on the agenda tonight?
This is not. Let's move on. Thanks to Football Guys, Roto and Rob for tonight's rundown. 106.
I'm so glad to be back on the show.
Yeah, I know. By the way, you're on the show for 1 week, and we get into gay dude ranches. So this is.
You're the one who said dude.
This could be Cod Piece Part 2.
Yeah, I didn't bring up the cod pie.
Well, I'm just saying.
Cod pies.
106.7, the Fan's Aaron Hawksworth has reported Darius Geis suffered a hamstring injury while he was rehabbing his knee and is questionable for the beginning of training camp. Now, if you remember, Geis was actually already questionable for the start of camp because he tore his ACL in the preseason last year.
And if you listen to the show ever, you wouldn't own any pieces of Darius Geis. So you're actually just laughing right now at all the other people who own him.
The Fans, I own one dynasty share of him, unfortunately. What? Yeah, I took him at the 102 last year before he tore his ACL, obviously. The Fans' Craig Hoffman actually said that the injury happened, quote, a few weeks ago. We don't know how severe it is, but even if it is not severe, this is a guy who needs to get on the field because he basically missed everything last year. He missed most of the offseason this year. And if you look at where he's going right now in FFPC best ball, Dave, this is not a player
that's about to drop.
I want to be in business with.
Precipitously.
605 is where he was going before.
Like 8th or 9th.
He has gone as late as the 903, which I'm assuming happened probably last night.
Or today or tonight.
Yeah. Listen, I was not targeting this guy. In fact, I've been trying to trade Darius Geis, the one share I've had of him. I was just waiting for some positive news to come out. Actually, we're going to get into Cortland Sutton in a little bit, and I had a similar approach to that. I was just waiting for some positive news to come out so I can trade Geis for something. I just want him off my team at this point. He will not be on any of my redraft teams this year. I assume you are of the same belief.
Oh, yeah. Actually, I'm kind of high on Adrian Peterson, which is so weird to say, but I know he was been going really late, but now you have to kind of leap him up about 4 rounds. So if he was going in the 16th, now he's the 12th or whatever. Where is he at?
1406.
So maybe like
was on average. Last night, I'm assuming 1004.
There you go. Yeah. About 4 rounds. There you go. That makes sense.
So good call on that. I'm on board with that too. You can get a starting running back in the 10th round. I don't care how bad he is. I want to.
There's a chance. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
There is a chance that Geis comes back and is effective. It's just such a. You have to thread that needle. It's such a narrow, and he hasn't done anything. The thing with him, he was like the Mixon, right? Mixon was so hyped up by all these people.
This season or last season?
Ever since forever, right? There were just the Geis people and the Mixon people.
Yeah.
And I was never one of either. But I'm kind of a little bit coming around on Mixon. I kind of get it. I still don't end up taking him because usually there's somebody who just loves Mixon.
Right. Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of Mixon.
Yeah, Mixon lovers,
yeah.
But Geis, I never could get on board with. He's not a pass-catching back.
No.
Never liked him. Didn't get on board at the 102 and still don't. So I don't know. I can't. I think you just have to put him out to pasture and let's let him go. And there's a chance when he comes back. I mean, there's a chance. He just hasn't done nothing positive.
We haven't talked about this. You remember when he was going through the pre-draft process, there were questions about his mental stability.
Right, yeah.
And
he was really gangster and whatnot.
Yeah, and I think that is a little bit overblown. However, Dave, where does he rate on the flake scale? Because I think he's on there somewhere.
I wouldn't give him a very high flake rating because I actually feel
flake rating. This is great.
I actually feel kind of bad for him because he had a really troubled childhood.
Mm-hmm.
He's a really hardworking player. He seems like actually a good person.
Waited his turn at LSU behind Fournette.
Yeah, I actually like Darius Geis as a person, so it's kind of sad. I'd like him to do well.
Right.
I actually give him a pretty low flake rating. I think he's all right. So.
All right, but he's on the
like
spectrum.
4 or 5.
He's on the spectrum.
Yeah, 1 through 5. He's like 4 or 5.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. But that said, you and I are not targeting him.
No, but I wish him the best in general.
Me too.
I feel a little bad, like I was bashing so much.
That's okay. Let's talk about a guy you like. Tom Pelissero on Twitter has reported.
I don't like Tom Pelissero.
Why wouldn't you like him? Former Packers beat writer.
I don't really know.
He has reported that the NFL has suspended Jets tight end Chris Herndon for 4 games for violating the league's substance abuse policy. Now, we and Herndon knew that he would be suspended after he got a DUI arrest last June. But I'm a little bit surprised that it was 4 games and not 2 or even 1. The Jets have a bye week in week 4 this year, so the earliest Chris Herndon will be able to help your team this year in your lineup is week 6 against the Cowboys. The backups for the tight ends in New York are Daniel Brown and Trevon Wesco, not interested, and see above.
Are they even in the player pool?
Yeah, exactly. And Herndon had 4 touchdowns last year. It was the most among rookie tight ends. He says he's going to appeal the suspension. Maybe he gets it down to 2 or 3. But, Dave, if you're drafting right now, and I can tell you Herndon is actually going, on average, this is pre-suspension, even though we knew the suspension was coming, in the 10th round. I think I'd still get in business with Herndon there, even with the suspension.
Yeah, I agree. And actually, this is the bye week kind of works out well for him because we've been through this so many times, right? Where they're like, "Oh, Herndon's coming off suspension. Oh, and he has the whole bye week to get ready. He's back practicing with the team and da 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 da." And I think when you hear when I read the news story about it, I think there's a chance it gets reduced to 2, maybe not. Because I think it was a 70-year-old woman got hurt. Apparently he was going 100 miles an hour, which is really obviously stupid. But his blood alcohol was a 0.14. It's not like, hey, Rob, it's not like you, buddy.
No, all right, come on.
Rob likes to drink once in a while. So it's not like Rob. Well, we don't like to drive. Hey, Herndon, you don't have to drive.
That's right.
So I think there's a chance it gets reduced. But even if it doesn't, I love Herndon. I think he's such a talent. The question is now, do you take him? If you're looking at the hype, the second-year hype guys, do you take him first or do you take Mark Andrews first? Because Andrews has been getting all sorts of positive news. Yeah. And actually, I saw a recent draft, I think it was either today or yesterday, where Andrews went ahead of Herndon, actually.
Wouldn't surprise me. He's going at the 11:01, which is just, it's basically a round behind Andrews. But he's gone as high, Dave, as the 6:03. A little bit too aggressive for my standards. Mark Andrews. A little bit too aggressive for my standards, but I get it with what's going on in Baltimore.
I was just happy. Let me brag. Carrington, I got Mark Andrews at the 3:11 in the rookie draft.
We were tight ends in that because you had Gronk, right?
Gronk and Eifert and Johnny Smith. I mean, he was.
Oh, okay. So Andrews is okay. Nice work.
Yeah, he's now my number 1.
That helps. Hey, if you want O.J. Howard in that league, you let me know. I would love to swing something with you. Did you know? Audio engineer Bryce told me this. If you are a member of the Tavern League of Wisconsin, the bars in the state, if you are a member there, and you're a patron drinking at an establishment that's a member of the Tavern League of Wisconsin, you can get a free taxi home. if the bar or the tavern pays for it, I guess.
Really?
Yeah. So,
if
the bar is a member of the Tavern League of Wisconsin, which most bars are, you can say like, "Hey, I'm smashed. I don't want to drive home." They will call you a cab,
and they will pay for it.
You don't have to pay for it.
They have to.
Yeah.
Or they.
Yep, they do.
Nice.
Yeah, pretty awesome.
That's why pot will get legalized. We're going to be like the 48th state after, like, Utah will be after us,
right?
And maybe Hawaii.
Yeah. Oh, Hawaii will be before.
The Tavern League is like as powerful as.
Oh, they're like the tribes with sports gaming.
Tribal gaming. They're like the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota, probably, like, as far as healthcare goes.
Tom Pelissero on Twitter also reported that Melvin Gordon's agent said there's a, quote, strong possibility that he will hold out into the season unless he gets a new contract or trade to a new team. Adam Schefter previously had said that Gordon is going to skip training camp and demand a trade if he does not get the said new deal. Gordon's agent also said, look, there's a long way to go until before week 1. We hope to get something work out. Gordon is scheduled to earn $5.6 million in the final year of his rookie contract. I don't want to get into the whole aspect of should he get paid or not, because I think it's clear that if these other players that were drafted at the same time as him that are in the same neighborhood as far as stats goes, I think Gordon has earned it. He deserves it. I don't know if he'll get it. What are you doing with him in drafts right now? How far are you knocking him down?
I wouldn't knock him down hardly at all.
Now, here's the thing, Dave. I wouldn't either if this were 2018. The Le'Veon Bell thing scares me. Le'Veon Bell said he was going to report. He told the teammates. He told the press. He told everybody, look, I'll be there. I'll be there. And he wasn't there all season. Melvin Gordon is saying right now, I'm not going to be there. So I like it gives me pretty big pause to draft him.
I gotcha. I mean, keep in mind, back to the flake scale, Le'Veon Bell, he's kind of high up there. He's smoked pot. He's had some issues. He's a little weird dude. Melvin Gordon's kind of normal. It seems like he's pretty normal to me. So I don't think that Gordon's agent's like, hey man, let's play hardball with him. We're going to tell him we're going to do all this stuff, and then
right.
Gordon's like, okay, Arliss, that's fine. We'll do that, and then it'll get to like mid-August, and I actually think they have a pretty good shot of getting a deal done. I really do think they have it. And there's a lot of time to go. And by the way, real quick, if I was Farrell, Farrell
Elliott, KSC commissioner, and NFL player agent, yeah.
Every time that something like this happens, I would always just email like Melvin Gordon and be like, oh, dude, you should fire him. I could do a way better job than you. I would every time.
Yeah.
Just set it up.
You know what Farrell would do? He would not do that. He would email him and just, shoot the bull with them.
Yeah, he'd be like, if you want to talk about this,
no, he wouldn't even say that.
But he should.
No, his signature, he would list his phone number and his email, and he'd leave it at that.
And he's like, if you're not doing anything because you're holding out, we do have openings in the main events here at Kentucky. And
that he might do. That's entirely possible.
Come play with us.
What about Eckler, Justin Jackson? You moving those guys up on your boards?
No, not really.
Okay.
I mean, I would take Eckler but I never seem to do that.
I mean, I like both those guys regardless of this Gordon thing or not, and I'm just curious if you were moving them up at all. Because now I guess I don't like him as much because there are teams that are moving him up there, or drafters moving him up their draft board to a spot. I don't know if I'm completely comfortable taking them.
Well, I mean, the problem with both of those players is that they have the other person to deal with, right? So, I mean, I feel like where Eckler and Justin Jackson get drafted, there's other players that don't quite have that issue to go with. Like, where's Eckler? What's his average?
I can tell you right now, Dave, according to FFPC Best Ball's ADP data over the last 7 days, Austin Eckler is going at the 10:04. I think I said that earlier in the broadcast.
So where's Jalen Samuels going?
Jalen Samuels
a little bit later, right?
is going currently on average at the 10:01. So
right,
he's actually going before Eckler.
All right, by 3 picks. But I mean, about the same spot. So I would much rather have Jalen Samuels because he's the clear backup and he's supposed to still have a role. And then you still have Chris Thompson to deal with, and he now has the Geis news, so he might move up a tad.
Yeah.
Deion Lewis and other guys who actually have a role already.
Just drafted Deion Lewis in the Scott Fish Bowl.
Oh, good today.
What about the guy going right ahead of Jalen Samuels, Damian Harris in New England?
Yeah, he has the bonus upside that Michelle's knee is all that is not to be talked about because New England, doesn't put any information out.
Yeah.
I think Harris could be interesting. Yeah.
What about Jerick McKinnon? He's going right before them.
I'm not really that interested in McKinnon. There's like a 4-horse.
Would you rather take Eckler over McKinnon?
I think I would, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We'll leave it at that. All right. Last thing I want to bring up, speaking of Jerick McKinnon, his quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo, says he's, quote, good to go for the start of training camp. He does not expect to be placed on the active PUP list This is according to Pro Football Talk on NBCSports.com.
So one thing, he's going to be back for training camp after
he says he's good to go for the start of training camp.
Yeah. He's coming back from a 2-week dude ranch trip in Montana, actually.
No comment. Quote, the rehab process has gone really well, knock on wood. We haven't had any setbacks. Garoppolo actually participated in individual work in the spring workouts, and George Kittle, Dante Pettis at his disposal that he'll be able to hit on the offense this year in Kyle Shanahan's offense. I think if you look at Jimmy Garoppolo, I guess this news doesn't – I mean, I kind of liked him before, and maybe I like him a little bit better now. I guess it's more of a commentary on those San Francisco skill position guys, that maybe you bump them up a little bit now knowing that Garoppolo, it seems like it's all systems go for Pettis, Samuel, Marquise Goodwin, George Kittle.
Yeah, I would say so.
Do you like any of those Niners pass catchers? Do you have a favorite among those guys? I mean, besides Kittle, who's going super high, I don't really know if we have a good handle.
Yeah, to be honest, I mean, as a player, I'm not a big Dante Pettis fan. I know he was.
I never was either, but it seems like he's going first.
I'm still not. I mean, he did not have a high phenom score coming out of college. Did not have amazing. He wasn't like a great route runner or anything like that. He didn't have amazing film, and I don't think he blew up the combine or anything like that. So I mean, I don't know. Why would I like Dante Pettis? I guess I don't get it. And he's also an undersized receiver,
right?
Which there's nothing wrong with if you run a 4.3 40. But I'm assuming he doesn't run a 4.3 40. So I mean. I don't know. I guess I don't get the attraction.
I know. I'm with you. Now, I'm grinning from ear to ear, Dave, because I just looked at the few receivers that are going right after Dante Pettis in drafts, and I think this is going to be a fun would you rather.
All right.
This is going to be
Where's that guy?
No, they're not.
Oh, okay. That's
putting you
right.
Putting you through the meat grinder on this one.
Okay.
This is the fingernails on the chalkboard edition of Would You Rather.
Corey Davis.
Corey Davis is the first one. Would you rather have Dante Pettis or Corey Davis?
I'll take Corey Davis.
Would you rather have Dante Pettis or Will Fuller?
I'll take Pettis, actually. But you know what? I would take Kiki QT over both.
Don't just let me.
We'll get there.
Dante Pettis or Cortland Sutton?
I'll take Sutton, actually. I think I don't love Sutton, but I think he's got the upside of a breakout.
He's actually going a round and a half after Dante Pettis.
Wow.
Dante Pettis or Kiki QT?
I think QT is a big value. I really do.
Okay. This now we get a little interesting.
QT only played 6 games, but in those 6 games, he was actually pretty outstanding.
You will not have to make a decision on this, but this is just for my own personal benefit because these guys are going so far after Dante Pettis. But this is a fun little exercise for me to find out how much you hate Dante Pettis. Dante Pettis or Marvin Jones?
Man, that's so tough. I don't know. I guess Pettis.
I agree. Detroit's not going to throw the ball. Dante Pettis or
they'll throw it a little bit.
A little bit, yes, and that's great for the number 2 receiver there. Dante Pettis or Sterling Shepard.
I keep feeling like Golden Tate is back in Detroit, and I wish he was, but anyway, Sterling Shepard, I can't stand him. I'm taking Pettis.
Dante Pettis or Golden Tate?
Tate. I'll take Tate, actually.
Dante Pettis or Larry Fitzgerald?
Fitz.
Dante Pettis or Curtis Samuel?
You know, it's weird. I'm going to take Samuel. I never get Samuel in any drafts. I think it's impossible.
Here's the cutoff. Dante Pettis or D.D. Westbrook? You got to be kidding me.
I'll take Pettis.
Okay, there we go. Westbrook is going 3 full rounds after Pettis.
The thing is, Westbrook, and I don't normally draft him. I actually like DJ Chark way later. But Westbrook is a 3rd-year kind of semi-breakout candidate. Everyone looks for those 2nd-year breakouts, and RotoViz had a nice article about 3rd-year breakouts, and they did specifically mention D.D. Westbrook. Another guy who we don't talk about much, but I like as well is Zay Jones. Is super cheap. He's going super late. And he didn't have a terrible 2nd year, and Josh Allen's going to get better. And everyone wants to take Robert Foster and whatnot, but I mean, Zay Jones is, he was a highly drafted player, and he improved his 2nd year. Why can't he break out his 3rd year? I mean, and where you're drafting him,
John Brown's there too.
Super.
You didn't mention him.
No, I know John Brown is there, but I mean, John Brown. Guys had sickle cell.
He'll be there for 5 games.
He's a colossal bust. He's a colossal bust every year, everywhere he goes.
Except for that 1 year.
Yeah, right. The 1 year. That's
right.
That was when Josh Gordon had a good year last, 2014. Maybe it was later. But I mean, I'm saying the one good year you're always preying on, and if it's 4 years later, well, maybe that was the 1 year was the fluke, not everything else.
Beware the career year, as they always say. All right, I want to get to 2 emails here before we call it quits tonight. The first one is from, this will probably be a quick one, actually. Fred? No, this one's from Nate.
Fred in Appleton?
Nope, Nate in Aurora, Colorado. Hey, guys, any preference between Jeff Hireman and Noah Fant for FFPC leagues in 2019? Redraft only, please. Thank you for the email, Nate in Aurora, Colorado. Dave, in best ball drafts, Jeff Hireman, 2608. He's basically free. I mean, but he could be the starting tight end that you get in the 26th round.
Sure.
And then Noah Fant is actually going all the way up at the 1306. Consider the draft value for each of those guys. You on board with either one?
If I can only pick one, I would actually pick the higher man guy who I can't even pronounce.
Who's the lower man in this case?
Yeah, the lower man.
Yeah.
If you're going to take Fant, why don't you take the higher man or Huber man or whatever at the 24th round?
Would you do that as your second and fourth tight ends?
No, I would not. I would not take. I don't believe in Fant as a rookie tight end. I don't think he's going to break.
But as a backup tight end?
No.
Okay.
I mean, nothing. Again, there's other players I kind of like in that same range. Hawkinson goes around there. Andrews has gone around there. Maybe they're going early.
Well, Hawkinson goes right before Fant.
Right. I prefer Hawkinson. He's the guaranteed number one starter.
Here, I'll name
the more well-rounded overall tight end.
I'll name the four guys after tight end going after Fant.
Jimmy Graham probably.
No. Would you rather have Noah Fant or Mike Gesicki? Yeah.
I guess Gesicki, to be honest.
I would probably go Fant, but it's close.
It is close, yeah.
Noah Fant or Darren Waller, who's actually been talked up by the coaching staff.
I don't know, I guess Waller, but
okay.
I mean, again, barely.
All right, I'd probably go Fant. Noah Fant or Tyler Eifert?
Eifert.
I agree. Noah Fant or Jason Witten?
Witten for sure.
Yeah, all right, okay. All right, last email. This is a fun one, Dave. This one's from Fred, I believe. Fred in Avon, Connecticut. Bob McManaman from the Arizona Republic said Hakeem Butler might be the breakout wide receiver this year for the Cardinals. Because
start over.
Bob McManaman from the Arizona Republic said Hakeem Butler. Do you hear Hakeem Butler in your ears perked up?
Yeah, sir.
Might be the breakout wide receiver this year for the Cardinals because of his measurables and off-season work with Calvin Johnson. Are you guys still on the Isabella bandwagon? Long-time listener, Fred in Avon, Connecticut. Thank you for the email. Fred! All right, Dave.
Yes.
Hakeem Butler being talked up by a Cardinals beat writer, did not mention Isabella. Your thoughts on this as far as redraft goes?
There was a different Cardinals beat writer who talked up. He was predicting the starters for Arizona, and at receiver he predicted Isabella, Fitz, and obviously Christian Kirk. He then mentioned two other players whose names escaped me. Did not mention.
Keyshawn Johnson.
Yeah, maybe, and then some other, loser, whatever.
Chad Williams, maybe.
No, it was somebody else.
Yeah, it's Chad Williams. How would the mighty have fallen?
Is there a Burton on that? I don't know.
Keenan Burton. I don't even know if that's it.
But he didn't even mention Butler, so he inferred that Butler might be wide receiver 6 on that team. He said he's very raw. Now, granted, it's he obviously is raw, but I'm trying to find it too.
Okay. Oh, you're looking up the beat writer.
I'm looking up. Yeah. But he said Damier Bird actually was.
Damier Bird.
Damier Bird.
Or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, let's just say Butler is the number 4.
Harold Cooper and Kevin White are there too. Remember.
So, first of all, Fitz is going to get a lot of looks in the slot. That's just where they put him, and he's the number 1 alpha guy there.
Right.
And
just drafted him in Scott Fishbowl too.
And Christian Kirk, nice. And Christian Kirk is playing outside, even though he's actually. It's funny. This team has like 3 slot receivers and Hakeem Butler.
Right.
But I mean, the best 3 receivers are going to be on the field. I mean, and Isabella, even though he's short and super fast, he's the same dimensions as Brandon Cooks, the same speed too. And Cooks plays outside. I think the team can play him inside or outside. I think he's fine. I love Isabella. I think I mean, as I've said before.
For redraft.
Yes, for redraft. I think he's going to be good this year as a rookie. I mean, I think he has a chance to get in the neighborhood of Sammy Watkins' rookie year, which is a really good year. It was like 900 yards and 5 touchdowns or something like that. I mean, I think overall Isabella, I know I've talked about a ton, but I think Isabella has a chance to be like a superstar player, a superstar. I really do think so.
On the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship podcast, Farrell Elliott was talking about Andy Isabella, and you know what his deciding factor was before he clicked select on Isabella in one of his drafts?
No.
He said, well, Dave Gerzak likes him, so boom, I'm taking him. So,
well, that's cool. I appreciate it.
Okay, so Isabella 1708, Hakeem Butler 2508. So like Isabella's draft value better? Okay.
Yeah, I think Isabella you could take 3 rounds earlier and you'd still be fine.
I can't. I mean, even with the support, I can't conceivably even in a 28-round draft find a spot on my roster for a guy who ostensibly could be the 5th wide receiver option for Arizona, much less pass catching option.
If you draft Fitz and Kirk or Fitz and Isabella, then you could take Hakeem Butler as like a backup, like, insurance policy. That's not bad.
Right. Okay, fair enough. That is going to do it for our show tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I want to wish a very special couple of happy birthdays. Former show guest, he's been on the road of his High Stakes Lowdown one, our good buddy Kurt Kikas, celebrating a birthday today. Happy birthday, Kurt.
How old is he?
I don't know. 29, 30, somewhere around there.
Screw him. He's retired. He just gallivants around all the time. And once in a while he'll call me like, oh yeah, how's it going? Good. Oh yeah, I said $100 bottle of wine. And like, good for you,
he
jackass.
doesn't do that.
Oh yes, he does.
And then
Good
another
for him though. I'm glad he's enjoying success in life.
Another happy birthday goes out to a guy who's been a guest on the show and the road of his High Stakes Lowdown, 2011 Kentucky champ Justin McCord, celebrating a birthday today.
All right.
So two of the better high-stakes
Happy
players
birthday.
out there celebrating birthdays today. Congratulations, guys. Thanks to Rich Lane, Dave, the FFPC, Rob Bryce, and, of course, each and every one of you. Now, next week, no show Friday. We'll be doing a show on Wednesday. That's right, Wednesday, 10/9 Central, with three-time FPC league champ and Pros vs. Joe's entrant Michael Edelman joining the program next week. Excited about this. Tried to get him on for a while now, and he's going to be coming on Wednesday. So looking forward to that. Dave, are you going to be co-hosting that show with me?
What is this?
Wednesday, 10/9 Central.
I guess if I have to.
Yeah, you have to.
All right, I'm in.
All right, perfect. Check out those Maiden Dynasties and 2019 Best Ball Leagues at myffpc.com. And remember, make sure you're getting your main event draft spot early. 10 days to square that away. And just my own personal thing, 6 spots left in the midnight draft, which I'm commissioning. It starts here in, about an hour or so? We can fill this up, guys.
Right,
Let's make it happen. Thank you so much for listening, and, of course, your weekend starts now.
This has been another episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by myffpc.com. That was broadcast live and heard around the world. Eric and Dave will be back next week with more analysis, interviews, and advice from a guest much smarter than they are. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk with you again next week.
We're on the famous floor, even more so if we on tour. Me and E explore the country, wondering about the evening before. Trying to explain where the time went, while other rappers find a studio to grind in. Kinda like...
Yeah, Two-Packer actually pointed out in the chat, Friday we can't do a show because they'll be at Rock USA.
Are you there?
Yeah, Two-Packer will be there as well.
Where's my? Are you guys getting VIP?
Yeah, of course.
Maybe I'll go this year.
Yeah, you say that every year.
I know, but this year it might work. My wife's going to be in. She might be in Door County. When's this again?
It's next Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Five Finger Death Punch on Thursday, Rob Zombie on Friday, Disturbed on Saturday. You can also hear from Breaking Benjamin, Marilyn Manson. Extras in multiple Friday night, right before Rob Zombie.
All right, we'll talk about this.
Bring your devil horns.
Friday and Saturday, but Thursday I'm free. I just was watching whatever the hell they are. Been Caught Stealing.
Jane's Addiction.
Yeah, Jane's Addiction was on Audience tonight. It was great.
Oh, I've seen that one before.
Yeah,
that's
was
good.
really cool.
With Perry Farrell is giving the interview and everything.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, no, that is good. Okay, sorry for that, but that's where it'll be next Friday. If you're in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, come find us.
Wednesday.
It'll be fun. Wednesday the show. Yes.
All right, cool.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody.